All right, guess we got to talk about Solar Scarabs now, who are my big wild card team, the team I'm the most wishy-washy about. And I think for good reason. There is undeniably talent on this roster, but it's in a way untested talent, right? How well are Layers and Baronic, the console boys, make it up to the SPL, going to do now when they have to play week in and week out the very best players that we have? It can inbound step up from what was a rough rookie season. There's no other way to describe it. He's with two of his former teammates from the SCL, but will that be enough to elevate them? They do have the veteran presence of Zapman. Do 2 back-to-back World Championship rings matter? I think they do, and maybe he can be that leading force for this team that is absolutely going to need it.
Zapman goes from winning 2 World Championships to now being on the projected 8th place team in the league, and this is the biggest test of Zap's leadership yet. He's got a lot of work to do with this team.
Zapman literally just won a 2nd World Championship, so I don't think there's much more to say about that other than Steve is going to be able to come in and play with the consistency that he's brought to Smite for the last almost decade at this point. I mean, he's been playing so long, I think his veteranship is just going to be beneficial to everybody all around. But the one that really sparks and grabs my attention, it's gonna be Layers. I think outside of Johnny and Layers, there weren't a lot of players people were talking about in their jump to the SPL, and Layers is the one that I think there was the most buzz around.
Layers in the jungle is one that I'm excited to see how he performs. I think he's absolutely deserving of his SPL spot, but he's got a tough mountain to climb in a game where lane pressure and lane dominance is really important for a jungler to be able to get their job done. I don't see a lot of areas where he's going to be able to make it work on these lanes, particularly through mid, because I think Baronic has the most to prove coming into this year. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He's definitely the player that everyone is looking at as the weakest link on this team, and likely in the SPL, but that's also an opportunity for this team. Can they catch people off guard? Can they go with some different strategies in that mid lane and allow Baronic to flourish and let his backline end up working together?
I think this team has the ability to kind of push through that ceiling, but it is going to be a long, difficult road, and a lot of it is going to be leaning on that 3v3 and the ability for the former Xbox World Champions to come together, reignite some of that flame, and push these Solar Scarabs into that next tier of teams. They won't be elite. They might make a run at some playoffs, but the regular season is where you layer that house brick by brick and start to build something that's exciting to watch.
We know that they've got the raw mechanical ability. There's not enough disparity between these players for that to really be a big differentiating factor. I think the big thing is going to be how well can they play as a team? How quickly can they learn and adapt and bounce back if they do have some struggles early on, which I think are likely for this team. That's really going to be their big test. And if they do well in that regard, if they can bounce back from some losses, then I think this team has a shot to maybe make it up to that middle of the pack.